Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a little while since we put a video together. I think the last one we did was on frost seeding back in the spring. You know, we've had a very busy year so far, a good year, a fun year, but busy. You know, kids in sports, work, a lot of client properties, and a lot of habitat work as well. But we're going to try to get the videos back on track here with hunting season coming along to hopefully help you guys get on your target buck. With that being said, you know, life is busy. I understand that. It's busy for me. I know it's busy for you guys as well. So I'm going to try to keep these videos a little shorter than we had in the past. I think before they were in the 10 to 15 minute range. I'm going to see if I can cut that down to just over 5 minutes. So I don't know if that's possible. I kind of talk a lot sometimes, but we're going to see if we can do it. In today's video, I just want to talk about a couple things that we're doing on our properties before we're giving the property back to the deer for about a month before the season starts. And we have done entire videos on that topic in the past, so I'm not going to go into it too much. I will leave a link above for if you want to watch those videos. But really what we're trying to do is give our property back to the deer, stay off our property for about a month before the season starts. Now we're already into September here, and here in Michigan, our season starts October 1st, so we're within a month right now. And so again, in today's video, I want to touch on 5 last minute things that we're doing on our property before we're leaving and giving it back to the deer. There are always going to be habitat projects that you're either working on your property or you want to work on your property, but eventually you're going to have to call it quits and just start focusing on the upcoming hunting season. And again, for us, that's around Labor Day every year. Wherever we're at with a habitat project, we kind of just say, you know, this is good enough for this season. We will pick this up in January of the following off season. And then we will then do these 5 last minute projects or tasks before we leave the property and give it back to the deer. And these 5 mini projects or tasks that we're doing, they don't take very much time. They're very easy to do, but they're very important when it comes to the success of your hunting season. And the first one comes down to your access path and making sure that you have clean access to and from every one of your stand locations. Now, I'm not talking about you're going to go and create access right now. You're just going and walking your access path to make sure that there are no downed trees, there's no big branches, sticks, or really anything on your path. And for those of you guys that are walking through, you know, maybe some grassy areas, this means that you probably need to, hopefully you've already done this, but you know, mow that path down, maybe even spray it with chemical, you know, glyphosate, 2,4-D, ground clear. Make sure that there's no vegetation on that path so that you have minimal ground scent as you're going to and from your stand location. So, you know, the last couple of days, my son and I, we went down our access paths. He has a little leaf blower that he got for his birthday, and he helped me. He went and leaf blew our access paths on this property to make sure that we didn't have leaves on our trail. So that way, when we're walking earlier in the season, we're not stepping on sticks, we're not stepping on leaves. We have a quiet approach to and from our stand locations. If you do have downed trees or branches or vegetation growing into your path, take the time to address it now. That way you can make sure that when you leave the truck or leave the cabin, you can get to your stand without making a lot of noise or leaving a lot of ground scent behind. The next thing that we're doing, or the second thing on the list, and these are in no particular order, guys, is we are walking our primary deer paths to make sure, again, that they are clear. There are no big trees that have fallen down into the path, because what that could do is it might shift the movement pattern a little bit. Now, if that downed tree is 200 yards away from your stand location, not as big of a deal as if that tree is 50 yards from your stand location. Deer are pretty lazy, and this is actually a technique that we use to get deer to walk the paths that we want. We will knock a tree down to force them onto the trail that we want them to. Now, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes they go around the other side of the tree, but if you give them a nice, easy path to walk, they're going to take it. So if you have a tree that falls down into your easy path, there's a good chance that they're going to go around that tree, potentially moving them just out of bow range. And I actually picked this spot to film this video because I had this happen on the path behind me. We had a really windy day, and unfortunately it wasn't a storm. We didn't get any rain, just a lot of wind, and it knocked down this cottonwood branch. And that's a pretty big limb that fell down off of that tree. And as you can see, it's blocking this path. Now, if a deer really wants to, it could hop over that branch right there, but deer are pretty lazy. So what they're probably gonna do is they're gonna go inside the cover, just on the other side of that branch. And so I don't know if you can see this, but I have got a ladder stand behind me, you know, maybe 40, 45 yards behind me. And I kind of rely on deer moving from the food plot that the camera is in down this clover trail to a food plot on the back side of that ladder stand. Now I have a pond over here, so I can blow my scent over that trail into my pond, and that's a pretty easy sit for a west wind. Like the deer just basically hit this food plot, travel down that trail, hit the other food plot. But if there's a big branch right here, that's gonna push them into the cover a little bit more, and that could be just enough for me to miss an opportunity. So I need to take some time here, get the chainsaw out, you know, cut that up to clear my path up to make sure that the deer have free movement from point A to point B. The third last minute task that we're doing on our property right before giving it back to the deer is we're going into our bedding areas and making sure all of our individual deer beds that we made are still open and clear. When we make a bedding area within the timber on our property, because we live here, because it doesn't take much time to get back there, we do make a lot of individual deer beds within those bedding areas. So right now, I like to go into the bedding areas and just to make sure that those individual beds are open. Deer don't want to lay in branches, they don't want to lay on sticks, and so if I'm taking the time to make an individual deer bed where I think a deer might want to lay down, I'm going to make sure that that deer bed is open. So sometimes, you know, when it's a very windy day, you know, a storm moves through, you're going to have branches that fall down within that area, and sometimes they land in the bed. And if that happens, there's a 0% chance the deer is going to lay on a big branch. So you just got to make sure that you remove the branch and get it out of there. Also to make sure that nothing has fallen to block an escape path or anything like that. If it happens during the season, nothing we can do about it. We just want to make sure that before the season starts, that everything is how we want it to be, just to increase our chances that the deer are going to use that bedding area as we intend them to. The next thing that we're doing, I think this is the fourth item on the list, is we are putting out all of our cell cameras as well as putting fresh batteries and SD cards in all of our non-cellular cameras. I know there are a lot of you guys out there that run cell cameras all year long, and that's totally fine. It's fun to get those constant updates, see what the deer are doing on your property. You know, we don't. We put our cell cameras out in September and we run them through the end of December. But our non-cellulars, we run those for most of the year. So cell cameras, I just kind of make sure there's obviously brand new batteries in there, brand new SD card. I put those out this weekend, so those should last the entire season, never have to touch them. But I also make sure that on our non-cellular cameras, I'm putting in fresh batteries, lithium batteries in all of our cameras for the hunting season. That way they do not die. I don't think I've ever had a camera die by using lithium batteries. I used to use Energizer lithiums. I'm kind of switching to a different brand this year, a little bit of a cheaper brand, just to see how long they last. But the Energizer lithiums, I've never had a camera die during the hunting season when I put fresh batteries in Labor Day weekend. Very important as well to change out the SD card, put in a fresh SD card. Know what you're doing with your camera. What are you going to be using it for? If you're going to be using it for pictures, 32 gigabyte is going to last you the whole season. If you're going to put it in video mode or picture plus video, you're probably going to want a 64 gigabyte card. So again, one of the tasks that we're doing right now is we are replacing all the SD cards in our cameras and replacing the batteries with fresh lithium batteries. Which brings us to number 5, or oftentimes the last thing that we're doing on our property before leaving and giving it back to the deer prior to hunting it for the first time. And that's putting cereal rye down on our food plots. Now, historically, this has always been a fun thing for us to do as a family. You know, with other seeds like switchgrass, brassicas, you gotta be kind of careful with how much seed you're putting down. You don't want to overdo it. But with cereal rye, you know, who cares? Like, you can throw a bunch of that stuff down. It's not going to hurt anything. In fact, it might actually help if you got a lot of bare spots in your food plot. So this is something that a lot of the kids can do too. And so my kids have always been helping me with our cereal rye. My son, he's older now, he's 7. He can help out with some other stuff now, but he still likes putting down cereal rye. And our youngest son, you know, he's almost 2. You know, he helped for the first time this year with putting down the rye seed. So it's always something fun for the kids to do, and that's always one of the last things that we're doing on our property before leaving. This year, it's even more important for us though because of how dry it's been. We do have a couple new food plots on our property that we planted in early August. We had one rain. It was a pretty good rain. You know, had a couple days of straight rain, which was good. Everything germinated, had kind of a green carpet started, and then it hasn't rained since. So it's, I think I said earlier, it's September 7 right now, and we haven't gotten rain in a very long time, and not good. I mean, EHD is starting to break out in Kent County. I have some buddies that have a co-op down there. They're getting absolutely hammered with EHD, which is awful to hear about. And, you know, unfortunately it hasn't hit here yet. Hopefully it doesn't. But food plots are getting hammered as well. You know, my food plot is almost a failure. There's still some seed back there that's looking like it might pull through, but we haven't gotten rain in so long that the seed germinated, started to put that taproot down, and I've got sandy soil that everything has kind of just withered up and died. So rye is going to have to come to the rescue hopefully this year. So we did put some down a little bit, but I've still got about 800 pounds left that I'm waiting for a pretty good rain, that I'm just going to throw the rest of it down right before that. You know, food plot failures happen to everybody, guys. If it happens to you, don't worry about it. Just make sure that you have some rye as backup just in case. So that's going to hopefully be our saving grace for some of our food plots this year. Our perennial plots are looking good, but some of the new plots that we planted, you know, last month in August, not looking so hot with no rain, but it's going to be rye to the rescue this year. So hopefully we get a little bit of rain to help out with the food plots, but you know, if not, you know, that is what it is. Not going to lose sleep over it. Just try to remember to always, you know, focus on controlling what you can control. But that's going to do it for today's video, guys, on the 5 things that we're doing on our property before we're giving it back to the deer, before hunting it for the first time. Thank you guys again for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.